Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good morning if you're in LA or the US. Good afternoon if you're anywhere else or anywhere east of where we are in the UK. Hello, welcome to each and every one of you. I want to, first of all, just really sincerely thank all of you for your time today. It is really appreciated. I know you've all got 1,000 things to do. You've got videos and films to make. I know that hundreds of other marketers just like me are trying to sign you up to their webinars as well. So when you take the time to sign up for mine, well, it makes me really happy and validates what we're trying to achieve here at LWKS, and really helps to push things forward for us. Hopefully, you'll be very happy to hear that we're not going to bore you to death with PowerPoint. We're going to get to the demo and the QA pretty swiftly. That's what you're all here for, right? But I do want to introduce my my colleagues and panelists here, and really, I guess, just read out those bullet points on the right-hand side there. If you've ever had any interaction whatsoever with QScan, since even before QScan was QScan, you may well already know Daniel. Daniel has been working on QScan for as long as anyone can remember, and he knows literally every single thing about it. That's not an exaggeration, folks. He literally knows everything there is to do with QScan, with Media QC, and with video workflows in general. So you're in safe hands for the demo. We also have a very special and previously unannounced guest here with us today. That's our CEO, Peter Lambert. Peter really is a true pioneer in the world of video editing software. He was there right at the very beginning. He's here now and he's been there at just about every point in between. There's not a workflow in this world that Peter doesn't know backwards. And I'm not just saying that because he's my boss. And me, well, I'm Martin Coles, I'm the CMO at LWKS, and I don't know too much about workflows in comparison to Daniel and Peter, so you'll be pleased to know that they'll be taking the reins after I introduce everybody. So that's us, and this is what we're doing. Very quickly, what is Media QC? What is the point of it? Why is it more important than ever? Why do mistakes still happen? And what do you do to make sure that they don't happen to you? Well, Daniel will give you a tour of QScan, and actually he'll QC a file in real time before diving into some of the more advanced features, all completely live, no safety nets. So fingers crossed. No pressure, Daniel. Don't worry, I know you've got this. And then we'll take a look at how we compare in a head-to-head pricing breakdown with two of the best known names in Media QC. That's Baton and VidChecker. And a quick spoiler, there may also be an exclusive offer for you guys here today. Before we finish off with any questions that you might have for us. So that's essentially the agenda. That's us. Let's keep this moving. I'm going to move across to Peter, who will kick off a quick guide to automating Media QC.
Thanks very much, Martin. As with so many things, the world of content creation is transformed by technology dramatically. In the 1990s, Lightworks overcame the technical and operational barriers of cutting film or synchronizing videotapes to using computerized random access for film and video editing. And in the 2000s, Lightworks made it possible to edit for free. So that's given everyone the ability to create very high quality video. But there's no point in making a masterpiece if it doesn't get uploaded because the hosting platform doesn't support the file format you've used, or there's a data error in the file, or it looks weird because it's in the wrong aspect ratio, or there's a loudness problem, or freeze frames, or even flash photography that can give some people epileptic fits. We at LWKS aim to show how deeply technical issues can be addressed without having a master's degree in video engineering and IT. By making Media QC accessible to millions of content creators, we've commoditized the cost to ensure everyone can afford it. And this isn't because QScan is second rate. It's just we're structured differently to make AQC more accessible to millions of people. So I'll hand over to Daniel, who'll give you an overview of QScan, focusing upon two types of users. One is the non-technical user who needs AQC but relies upon pre-made templates. And second is for the more advanced user who wants to go deeper and has more complex picture analysis needs. So over to you, Daniel.
Hello, thank you, Peter. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning. Well, as Peter mentioned, I will be guiding you through QScan today. QScan is an automatic QC quality control application developed by LWKS. It is definitely a must-have for any content creators, post-production houses, broadcasters, big brand streamers, anyone that's dealing with video and audio content should definitely give it a try. Okay, so as Peter mentioned, I will be starting with just with a basic introduction about QScan. I mean, how quickly you can start doing quality control over on your videos. But then I will switch to more advanced features that will be more targeted for, let's say, more not professional, but bigger audiences, people that are using HDR, Imf packages, all these kind of words that are now in the mouths of everyone in the industry. Okay, so as you can see now, I'm sharing my screen now, and you can see that QScan is a web-based application. It can run locally, it can be operated remotely, it can in a local network, it can be operated remotely, it can be operated in the cloud, in hybrid environments. So it's really flexible in terms of usage and operation. So let's get on with it. First thing is you need to log in into QScan. There's a default username and password. Admin, that's in the, everything is described in our download page, so you don't need to remember this. So once you log into QScan, the first thing that you will see is our main screen. The main screen gives you access to all the possible options, menu options here in the top part of the main page. But we also have different sections in this main page that are providing you a real status of the system, what is going on in the system, what has been done, and also action to start your first QC. So to start your first QC, we would use a quick analysis. That's really, really straightforward, easy way of analyzing a file. So you would just select a file in your folders. Now I'm analyzing from a local drive. So just select a file. Now you see that the file has been selected. We can now select any templates from these shortcuts that are well-known names in the industry, or we can select a template from the drop-down list. Okay, these templates basically are set of conditions, that are configured to provide notifications to the user. You can create your own templates, but we have a big set of templates already available in the software. Now, in a few seconds, the QC job will start. We will see it showing up in the running QC jobs that will always provide me information about what analysis are running. Okay, it takes, again, just a few seconds. In case I only have one file at a time, the option of just one file at a time, they will be displayed in the next in queue. So basically, we have a progress window here that is giving me information about how the analysis is running, elapsed time, when it was created, so access to file information, basic file information. Okay, and now when the QC is finished, it will be moved to the finished QC jobs, which is the next section that we can see in our main page. The finished QC jobs will give me direct access to reports, HTML report, PDF report, XML reports, and even access to advanced tools like a timeline view or the HDR reports. We also have a summary about what was found in the file when the QC was run. This LWC stands for login warning critical events. So these are the notifications that we're getting. It gives me information about when it was created and the time it took for the analysis. If we just keep scrolling down the main page, we can see now a new section, which is Imf and Dcp jobs. All Imf packages or Dcp packages will be displayed here. They are displayed just a complete package. You know that these kind of packages are all contained in a specific folder, and it can have many files contained. So we are just presenting the name of the Imf or Dcp package here. We will go through it later on in the demo. And finally, we have the cancel QC jobs. These are just the files that were canceled either automatically by the system or manually by the user. Okay, so they will all be displayed here, and you always have the option to reanalyze the files just by clicking this reanalyze button here. Okay, but let's take a look at what the report looks like. Okay, so for this, I will be using this file. So first, we will take a look at the HTML report. So the HTML report is providing me, is divided in different sections. The first of all, we're providing very general information like the name of the file, the path, the time it took for the analysis, the version number, or even a summary of what events were found. Second, we can see some file information, just giving me information about the container, start time code, file size, if there's any format profile or format version for the file, they will be displayed there. Then we have a Pse report. For those of you that don't know what Pse is, this is photosensitive epilepsy. Photosensitive epilepsy, also known as the Harding test and also known as the flashing test. So there are many names for this, but the official name is photosensitive epilepsy. Here we can see the events that were found in this file for photosensitive epilepsy with a time code, the duration of the event, what type of event. So we have extended flashing, spatial harmful patterns, luma flashing, red flashing, and the severity level of each of these events. Next is information about the different streams, so video, audio streams, with information about the codec resolution, frame rate, bit rate, audio codec, sample rate, etc. We then provide values for the audio loudness measurements, like loudness I, loudness LRA max, or true peak max that are measured in the video. And then we have a list of events that are giving me information, a detailed information about what was found in this specific file. The list of events can now be sorted. This is a new addition to the software. They can be sorted, so you can filter and see only the events that you want to see. So let's say I only want to see the critical events. I can disable warning here, and then I will only see the critical events. If I only want to see it in a specific time code range, I could just enter a time code range here, and I will only display the events that happen in that specific time code range. But furthermore, what we can also do is we can select specific parameters, specific measurements, and only display those events that are related to those specific measurements. In this case, I have a gamut errors. It's a warning event because it is greater than 1% of my pixels are out of gamut, with a start time code, the duration, and we can also access the full size frame just to take a closer look to the frame. We can also see the waveform in case we want to see the video levels. In this case, we can see that some of the chroma levels are out of range, and those are probably the ones causing the out of gamut. And you can even edit the description in case you want to just add some notes to the description of the event, or even remove the event, because well, QScan can detect let's say black frames, but QScan doesn't know whether that is intentional or not. So perhaps you want to remove that from the final report. So these events can be removed. So this is from the HTML report. You can also have direct access to the PDF report. So we click here on download PDF report. I'll just save it in my computer. Okay, there it is. So I will now open it in a bit. And the PDF report is just a copy of the HTML report. So it has exactly the same sections like general information, file information. Then we have video and audio general information, and then we have the list of events, but in this case, thumbnails and waveforms are displayed. This can obviously be configured at project level. So if you do not want to see the thumbnails and waveforms, they can be removed from the PDF report. Okay, so here we have the complete list of events, and also at the end of the PDF report, what we can see is the photosensitive epilepsy report. Okay, that just showing exactly the same information that we could see in the HTML report. So from the HTML report, we can also access one of the advanced tools that we have. This is an inspection tool that we provide that is included in every version of QScan, no matter the license. But here you see that there's a link to access the detailed view of each of the events. So if I just click on go to the detailed view of frame 139, a new page will open, and this is giving me a timeline view of the file and showing where the events are happening. So all these that you see here are different events. The higher ones are critical events, middle ones are warning events. If we had login, there will be a different scale. So from here, we can just jump to any of the events. We can see information about the event, what is going on. In this case, we have blurriness is greater or is greater than 30. This is the time code, the duration. So we have all the information that we need here. We can also click on the frame, and we get the full size frame. We can also see here the waveform. Okay, so it gives me a good idea where all the events are located in my file, in the timeline. But this is not the only thing that I can actually see from this detailed view or timeline view. I can just select any of the parameters in the list. Okay, so I can just select blurriness, and I can see the behavior of the blurriness throughout the whole file. If I can then jump, if I select to be able to jump to any frame, so all frames, I can just jump to this peak and see why we're having this blurriness event. It's giving me a value of 100, which is the maximum value in the blurriness range. We can select any other parameters, and they are all displayed in the timeline. So I can just select as many parameters as I want. I can just select any other, like blackness. Okay, there's a black frame there. So yeah, and then we can just jump to any of the frames to take a closer look. You can see that the values here in the table will change as I change the frame, because we are storing all this information at frame level in our database. Okay, so that also allows us now to be able to download a CSV file with all this information, so it can be later imported into like an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so that is now available. But we don't only have this for video, we also have it for audio. So if I click on the audio icon here, we can then jump to the audio timeline view. Now I don't have events for audio, that's why there's a flat line there. But if I just click on the level, I can see the audio level for channel 1. Okay, again, I can see some drops here, some audio drops that are actually happening when I have the black frames and the freeze frames that I was showing before. Okay, so we can select channel 2, we can select just any other parameter that we want to see, can be displayed also in the timeline view. Okay, so this is how QScan will present the results, but how can I create my own template? Because I'm sure that that's one of the questions that came to your mind when you were seeing the quick analysis. Okay, obviously we provide the option of creating templates. So if we just click on the templates, we can see a list of templates, pre-defined, pre-made templates, some of them, or custom-made templates. Okay, so you can, templates can be downloaded, can be exported, can be imported. So you can even share, we can share templates, but you can obviously create your own templates. So how would I create a new template? Well, we have an editor here. I would just give a name to my template. I would just call it webinar to make it simple. And we have two options here. We can either apply existing templates. So let's just say I want to use like loudness. I want to add the generic quality template. That's the one I use for the quick analysis. And I want to add photosensitive epilepsy. So I can just select several templates and I can combine them together in a new template. So now you see that all these color numbers here are basically thresholds, are conditions that are set in those templates and are being combined. But I can also now add my own conditions, my own thresholds. So let's say I want to check that the container format is not, let's say, something simple, Mxf. Okay, I can then give it a severity level, warning, critical. I would say that the container is not Mxf. If I'm expecting that, that would be a critical event. Okay, and then my threshold will be created. So I will be notified whenever container format is not an Mxf. As you can see, we have several different groups of parameters. We have header format text, it's just header information, file header information about container, file size, start time code, all this kind of header information. Then we have video format checks, which are format parameters such as video codec, resolution, frame rate, bit depth. We have audio with the same audio codec, sample rate, etc. Then we have Imf checks. Although we do the Imf compliance in the background, we also implemented some specific Imf checks for Imf packages that are actually part of some delivery specifications out there. One of the latest additions, oh, sorry, I was going too fast. Now we have Mxf Checks, which is basically Mxf metadata. So we can read Mxf metadata. And one of the latest additions is Hdr Checks. Although we have been analyzing Hdr metadata for over 2 years, no matter whether it was Hdr 10, 10 plus, Dolby Vision. Now we also, I mean, the user can also measure real values of max fold, max CLL, gamut checks. So they can, so this is directly measuring the video and the value will be provided in nits. We will go through HDR a bit later to show you what the HDR report looks like. We have some frame statistics. Then we have video levels, basically highest luminance levels, gamut errors. We have video content. These are more perceptual quality checks, perceptual quality detections like black frames, freeze, macro blocking, blurriness, color bars, a more advanced quality video quality parameters such as digital drops, like photosensitive epilepsy, noise detection, blanking lines. Obviously, QScan provides audio detections as well, so we can detect whether the level is the one that we're expecting, whether the audio is missing, frequency, audio phase, and of course, loudness measurements, loudness M, S, I, LRA, or true peak, which are mandatory in any broadcast right now. This is mandatory. Another advanced feature and another set group of parameters that we have is what we call macros. Okay, but what is a macro? Well, just you can imagine that sometimes you want to detect not only when one thing happens, but when several things happen at the same time. Let's say that you want to detect that the black frames, but only the black frames that are missing the audio. Okay, so we can create a macro that will detect only those time codes where there's a black frame and the audio is missing at the same time. In this case, we have some examples here, like in non-black freeze frames, this would be detection of freeze frames, but excluding black frames from the freeze frame detection. Okay, one option was to hard code it in the software, but we thought it was a lot more flexible, more future-proof to do it, to allow the user to do it. So here we have like this is a Boolean combination of parameters, which we can set the values here for each of the parameters, what is black, what is freeze, and we can also set a duration for the event to be triggered. Now, how are macros created? Well, there's a specific macro editor here. The macro editor as you can see, you can design your own macros here. So let's try to build the macro that I just mentioned before, like black frames, but only the black frames that are missing the audio. So I would just combine black frames with audio here. I would say, okay, black for me is 70 and no audio is detected in any of these channels, in any of the 16 channels. So that would be a very simple macro. I would just give it a name, black with no audio, and just save the macro. And then it will be available in the macros list for any template that I build. Macros can be as simple as this one, or can be as complex as some of these that you can see here. So the combinations are, I mean, the option for combinations is unlimited. Okay, and as I said, it's future-proof. It can be very complex to design at some point, but it's really, really future-proof. So another one of the advanced features, next one that I want to talk about is HDR. Okay, we've all heard about HDR. You know, sometimes it was difficult to understand what HDR would mean from the QC point of view. Now, after several years, it's more clear, and we understood that Maxfold, MaxCLL video measurements are a must in HDR quality control. So we have the HDR icon will give you access to the HDR report. So if I could just click on the HDR report, download it. As I mentioned, we support all HDR formats, HDR 10, 10 plus, Dolby Vision, HLG, and we now also support the video analysis. So we have file information here in the HDR report. Some specific HDR like color primaries, VT 2020 display P3 for mastering display, mastering display luminance, transfer characteristics. Okay, so these are very, very specific HDR, the HDR format, which is HDR 10 in this case. Then we display in the HDR report a timeline view of the Maxfold and MaxCLL, max frame average light level and max content light level. So we can see the behavior of these two parameters throughout the whole file. We also provide the values for the Maxfold and MaxCLL, but not only the values, but also the PQ values, the time code where these maximum values are happening. And in case of MaxCLL, since it will depend on the maximum light level of the pixel, of a specific pixel, we're providing the coordinates for that specific pixel. Some visual references for this for the Maxfold and MaxCLL, and waveform. So it is so you have a visual reference of these parameters and where they are happening. And finally, we are also providing global Cie diagrams, so we can see the distribution of the pixels in all the different color spaces. So we can visually see that we have a BT 2020 color space, and we have 58% of my pixels are inside the 709, 20% in P3, and the 22% in 2020. In the event that we have HDR events that we can have configured and Maxfold, MaxCLL threshold, a condition, then those events will be displayed in the following pages in the HDR report. So HDR report is one of the advanced features, but the other one I didn't want to miss in this webinar is the Imf packages, Imf or DCP packages, which are very similar. Imf packages are displayed as the name of the package. As you can see, if I click on the name of the package, then I will load the contents of this Imf package. So this specific Imf package has up to 26 files, video, audio, XML, several CPL, several PKL. So it's a very complex Imf package. You can see that we are providing here also information about the files and the events that have been detected in any of these files. But still, I do not get a clear picture of what the Imf package looks like. So we have now what we call the diagram view or the tree view, where we will be able to see how the Imf package is structured and how all the different elements in the Imf package relate to each other. So here I selected CPL. I can see both the two CPLs in this Imf package, One of them has one video track, one audio track, subtitle track. And if I just keep it expanding, I can see the files that are part of this video track, audio track, or subtitles. Okay, so even if I click on the CPL, I can see that information here, and I can see the files, in this case, the video files, and I can see them in a timeline mode. So this is the order in which these files need to be read and need to be played back. Okay, so it's showing me the segmentation of the video track in the several different files. Okay, and well, as you can probably imagine, I could be hours speaking about the features that we have in QScan, because these are not the only ones. We can provide XML reports, JSON reports. You can send the PDF report by email. We have a comparative analysis tool. We also have an API, so it can be integrated into third-party MAMs. Okay, so we think that we really cover everything that anyone could need, from, let's say, from people that need a very quick and simple QC to more advanced players in the industry that need really complex and advanced features. So I hope you liked it. I really want to see all of you just coming back and downloading the software and coming back to us for questions. So I will just now over to you, Peter. He will be telling you more interesting information.
Thanks, Daniel. I think that really gave the indication that there's a really broad range of things that people can do with QScan. But there are a couple of questions which we'll answer at the end, if you want to keep those coming as we just finish up. So, let's get down to how it works. QScan's available as an outright purchase or a subscription at extremely attractive prices. QScan 1 is designed for YouTubers, corporate communicators, and others not sending their content to traditional broadcast or big brand streamers. QScan Pro pretty much covers all the mandated reports and all the features required by an advanced user, except those who need to transmit high dynamic range. And as you can imagine, QScan Max is for those who need HDR and a scalability that allows for up to 32 simultaneous files from a single system. And you need to know how we stack up. Remember, QScan is fully featured and doesn't have any catches like time limits per month. Do note that 1,800 minutes is only 60 minutes per day in 1 month. And it isn't our style to reduce those minutes to 15 just because you want to do some Pse checks or some UHD files to check. But don't take our word for it. We're running a promo. Get on board for under $30 a month with our most popular product, QScan Pro, or try out the award-winning HDR analysis for under 60. Let's have a think about those numbers while we take some questions.
Thanks, Peter. I'm just going to leave this slide up here because I quite like this slide. I'll be honest. I may be a bit biased, but I think it's quite interesting. We've had a bunch of questions come in. Feel free to keep them coming as well. Just use if you use the Q&A widget rather than the chat, it just helps us keep track of them a bit easier. But let's start with this one, and it's one which I hope will come up. Peter, do you want to kick this one off? Could you name some of your customers?
Well, we do have some big names, as well as a lot of people who do a wide variety of things. The big names are pretty unassailably Netflix, HBO, NHK, Canal Plus, CNN. There are others. Apple use a lot of QScan. Companies like JCOM in Japan, a lot of good customers in Japan, but a lot of other customers doing other things that aren't necessarily global names, but are known specifically to the region they're in. One of my favorites is the civil service in Singapore make a huge amount of Ultra HD content and run that all through QScan. I've got a bit of a favorite place, which is India, where the National Film Archive use QScan, and a big company that has a broadcast services division incorporates QScan into their delivery pipeline, which is Laurent Toubreau, using our API. But there are many, many more. We have, particularly since we went to the subscription model, we have hundreds and hundreds of QScan users, and obviously we're seeking to subscribe more. Daniel, have I missed any?
No, well, we obviously have some other post-production houses that are well known in their areas, and like Serial Drama in Germany, or Finish Line in the UK, and well, there's plenty of. I mean, it would be impossible to name them all here, but I think you didn't leave any of the big names.
Cool. Okay. Cheers, guys. Let's throw you another softball. Can QScan run in AWS?
Yeah, definitely. Well, QScan is designed. It's a web-based application, and it has been tested in all of the cloud services out there. It is. And AWS actually is the preferred cloud platform for most of the people. So we made sure that it is working in AWS. We even have a test system, a test setup that we're running continuously in AWS.
Cool. Okay. And can QScan read files from network storage?
Yeah. Of course, QScan is designed to read from anywhere, and obviously network storage is something that is really needed in any post-production house or any broadcaster. So, and one of the benefits of QScan also is that it is reading the files directly from the network server and analyzing directly the files. So we're not copying the files into the local system and then analyzing, which will obviously take a lot longer. So the files are analyzed as they are read from the network storage.
Awesome. Okay. Daniel, we'll stick to some more product questions for a few minutes. On the audio side, do loudness checks work for checking dynamic range compression?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, the loudness LRA is the dynamic range for loudness, so that's supported, definitely.
And do they check LUFS levels? UFS.
LUFS, yeah. The values, the loudness values, the loudness measurements are all provided in LUFS or LKFS, which is the other option for loudness.
Awesome. Okay, one sec. I'm just sort of looking through messages and questions here.
I saw one, Martin. Sorry to interrupt. I saw one that is whether QScan can analyze audio only files, and definitely yes. Although I only showed video and audio files in my demo. Audio only files are also accepted as inputs into QScan.
Perfect. Okay. Peter, one for you. Are the subscriptions only monthly, or do you offer a yearly subscription?
We offer a monthly, yearly, or outright. So it depends upon what you want. So a monthly subscription, this is important. A monthly subscription can just be 1 month. So I want to use QScan for one project every year. I take out a 1 month subscription. That's it. So I actually need to take out the subscription and then cancel any recurring payments. But if I buy a year's subscription, it's the equivalent of 10 monthly payments. So there's a significant saving on that. And for some reason that, many companies, they need to do outright purchases because they've got long budgetary cycles. They have to put things to RFP. So we can provide outright licenses, which basically amount to the monthly over 3 years plus a saving. So we try and cover all the bases. We don't try and lock you into a forever plan. We don't try and only sell you outright. We try and cover what people actually ask for, because it's a sensitive subject, subscriptions.
And is there a demo license available for internal testing prior to commitment? I think you've kind of just answered that as well. So you can just take out a 1 month license, and with the voucher code at the bottom of the screen there, you're essentially paying $30 for
yeah, take out a 30-day trial license for $30, and you know, I'm sure you'll like it.
And it's completely unlimited as well, so go for your life. Can you download pre-made templates from somewhere, Daniel?
Not at the moment. No, we cannot. I mean, the templates need to be, obviously the templates need to be built in a QScan system. Okay, one of the things that we will be doing in the future is to allow to download templates from our website. Obviously, we try to provide as many templates, pre-made templates as possible. In every version, we try to add new templates. Okay, but yeah, but obviously we can definitely build templates so that we can make them available for download in our website at some point.
Cool. Okay. And here, are there any dealers that sell QScan? Peter, I think this is one for you.
Yes, we have a worldwide network of dealers, and we can actually work with our subscriptions with them and our discount codes. So if you have a relationship with the local reseller and they give you advice, maybe some independent support, contracts, things like that, they can roll in the QScan subscription into that. So we'll give you a code which you can put into the web purchase system, and that way we know that we assign you to a reseller who can give you help for, you know, sort of more on-site type stuff as they look after you as a complete entity. So yes, we're pleased to be able to cater for resellers as well as people who just want to make a web purchase and use things like our forum and email support.
If you're looking for a dealer in a specific location, if you just want to drop one of us a message, we'll be able to help you out. As Peter said, we've got I don't know, we've got lots of dealers, so just get in contact with us for specifics.
I think I saw one question, which is how quickly do we analyze files, which is one of the questions that Daniel hates to answer, but you know, we should make an effort.
Yeah, I saw that question also. There's a couple of questions I saw that I want to answer. One of them is this one: does it take real time of the video file for QC analysis? Well, obviously this is relative. Okay, there are many different video formats. There are many different file compression formats. I mean, the machine that it will also depend on the machine where QScan is running. It will also depend on the parameters that you are analyzing. Now, obviously, you can configure that in your template, so you can disable some of the parameters that you don't want to consume CPU. And then, just to give you an example, because it is impossible to, let's say, to say yes, it will work real time for each and every file. But I can give you an idea for an XDCAM HD file. 2-hour file could take 1 hour for analysis. Okay, so that would be 2 times real time. But again, it really depends on your environment. It really depends whether you're reading from the network, whether it is local file, whether the file is UHD, it is HD, it is. So there are so many variables there that it's impossible to say yes, it will always run in real time or faster.
Awesome. I was going to leave that one for the end, Peter.
Okay, and there's another one that I don't know if, but non-Windows host system, whether it will run on non-Windows host system. Well, unfortunately, no, but you can always use VMs. You can always use VMware, Parallels, VirtualBox, Hyper-V, you know, whatever virtual machines you have access to, QScan can run in these virtual machines. So we have plans for having QC in other operating systems, but they are not, obviously they are not yet ready.
Yeah, it's not today. There are some pretty interesting technical advances in areas which will give us a leg up and make it much easier to support, particularly the Mac. But yeah, not today. But that shouldn't really be too much of an issue. Most people have got PCs somewhere in the facility.
Cool.
And note that it is a web application. So basically, you just install this on a Windows machine that is in a corner in your data center, and you just operate through a web browser. So you can just operate it from any operating system just with a browser.
I think we've got time for a couple more questions. So is QScan more CPU or GPU intensive?
It's QScan right now is only CPU. Okay, we're not doing any GPU processing yet, but the good news is that that's in our plans. That's in our roadmap for next year. So that's something to consider.
Cool. And is CPU single-threaded or multi-threaded?
Multi-threaded,
Okay.
preferably, yeah.
And final question before we close down. But before I ask it, I just want to let everyone know there are some specific workflow-specific questions that have been asked. We've made a note of all of them, and we'll get back to you individually with answers for those. It's best to keep these broadcasted questions and answers a little bit more generic. So don't worry if we don't answer your questions straight away. We'll get back to you individually. Daniel, can QScan be used inside a closed server network?
Basically, when clips are being edited, can they be sent to play out via AQC? And a great example was the football European, the Euros, the soccer finals in the summer, where there was a workflow orchestration method of actually, during the edit, the files were being QC'd. But yes, you can use QScan with a very simple watch folder mechanism. Files that are edited can be dropped in QC'd and then passed, failed, notifications given, and sent to transmission systems. We have quite a few users using QScan that way.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Peter. Before we wrap up, just want to let everyone know that we'll be running webinars similar to this in both Latin America, in Spanish, I believe, and Asia Pacific with some of our partners over there very shortly. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks for joining, and thanks to everyone for sticking to the end as well. Please make a note of that voucher code there, Media QC50. We're not sharing that anywhere else. It's just for people who signed up here. And thank you so much for joining. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.